Alright guys, so today we're going to be working on changing this timing cover on my Dodge 318 engine. And the reason we have to do that is because we are moving from a right-hand discharge water pump to a left-hand discharge water pump. So actually I've got the old water pump right here, but you can see that this used to sit right here. And the reason we're changing that is because we're working on putting an AC compressor on here. And the kit that I got, or the bracket that I got, does not fit a right-hand discharge, or a driver's side discharge. So we got a new one that's going to be a passenger side, which it requires. But in order to do that, we need to change the timing cover because they supposedly have different bolt patterns. I haven't held it up yet, but I'm going to take it at its word that is the case. So you can see they are quite different. This one has a there's just a little bit of interference when it comes to the fuel pump. And so anyhow, we're going to work on doing that. So I got a new set of gaskets, and I got a new water pump, and I got a new whatchamacallit. But then on top of that, we have to go ahead. So to remove this, we're going to have to remove our fuel pump here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove our cam pulley here, or crank pulley. So I removed these 6 bolts out. We're going to go ahead and throw the impact on here, see if this will take it off. And we're going to work on getting this whole thing disassembled, and then I'll try and document putting it back together. I apologize for the bad camera angle, being that this is cab over van. There's not a great view of the front, but it is nice to be able to do this without having to remove the engine. So, all right, we're going to get to work. Alright guys, so we got this totally taken apart, and I took some time and I got this all cleaned off. I used a combination of this goof off and some brake clean. I got it pretty well clean now. One thing I noticed when I took my harmonic balancer off is that where the seal rides is all pretty beat up in here. I think there is a way to remove these and put a new seal in there, but I'm not going to bother with that. I just got a new one. Something you have to keep in mind is that the timing marks on that harmonic balancer are going to be off, because with the old timing cover, the timing marks are on this side, but with this new timing cover, the timing marks are on that side. So you can reuse the same harmonic balancer. Just keep in mind that you'll have to make some new timing marks and figure out where true top dead center is. But I ended up just ordering a new one from Amazon. Another little issue that I'm noticing is that it came with a new seal for the bottom here to replace this old one. But you can see that the new one is a lot thinner than this old one is, or at least it seems to be that way. And so I'm having trouble getting it to fit in there. It does have these little tabs. Well, you'll notice there's a small side and a big side. And so I can't really push the tabs through, but I'm hoping to try and get them started, and then maybe see if I can grab it with a pair of pliers and pull it through. Worst case scenario, I'll put some more gasket sealer on this and reuse it, but it would be nice to put a new seal in there. I also had to pick up some extra bolts. It looks like the bolts for the timing cover will be fine. I'll be able to reuse them because these bottom 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts I was able to reuse from the old timing cover. And then up top here, these 3 bolt holes, these 3 bolt holes will be, when I install my compressor bracket, it came with new bolts that were longer to compensate for the thickness of the compressor holder. But then I was able to reuse bolts for this hole and this hole from the old water pump. But I did have to pick up 2 3/8 by 2-inch bolts to go in here. So just some things to note if you're making that conversion. If you're just replacing one that was already there, you don't have to worry about that. So our next step is that we're going to go ahead and go knock this seal in here, and I'll go try and document that. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and knock this seal in. This is the seal that's going to go around our harmonic balancer. I did look inside the kit, and the kit does come with a replacement sleeve for that harmonic balancer if you so wanted to. Usually they come with a tool to help you install that sleeve. It's kind of like a speedy sleeve if you're familiar with that. But with how rusty that is, and with the timing marks being in the wrong spot, it just seems worth it to just go ahead and get a new sleeve. So I just took some mineral spirits, just trying to clean that up a little bit. I'm going to use this Permatex aviation gasket sealant. The reason I'm using this is because I have it, but also it's what is sworn by in the Volkswagen Beetle community, which of course this is not a Volkswagen Beetle, but I figure that if this holds up well enough for doing gaskets on Volkswagen Beetle engines, which notoriously run a little bit hotter since they're air-cooled, it should be plenty strong enough for running this engine, which I would hope is going to be running a little bit less so. I don't know that you actually have to put sealant around this, although most of the people that I've seen do these before always put sealant around it. I guess it's one of those things, it just never hurts. And we will be putting this on every gasket that we install in this van, or on this timing cover. All right, so we got that in there. I don't have a true bearing driver, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this 2x6, and hopefully we can try and get this to go down pretty even. Now we'll know that it's all the way seated, which it looks like it is right now, because you can see, I should have showed this before, but there's a little metal lip that goes all the way around here. And so as long as it's seated all the way on that metal lip all the way around, which it looks like it is, then we're all set. Now this one, it goes in from the front. I know that different ones go in from the back. I guess it changes with the years. This one's a brand new one from Amazon that's made out of aluminum. Not anything special or fancy, but just thought it was noteworthy. So, all right, now we can go on out and we can start working on some of our gaskets. All right, guys, so we're back in the van now, and I did pull this gasket through, and it seems like it's going to fit okay. It's still a little thick for my taste. It's really hard to get that down or get the timing plate to sit on top, and I can't get these bolts to line up quite right. But I think that that's because it just needs to be squished down. So I'm hoping that if I get this in there and then put these 1/2-inch bolts that come up from the bottom first, then hopefully I'll be able to do that. Because if you look at this other gasket, it looks like it's been squished down pretty good. So I'm wondering if this was even the same gasket from a while ago. I mean, the back and everything looks the same, and it's just been smushed over time. So, and another thing you're going to have to do is that it comes with these low gaskets that go around the oil pan down here, and you're going to have to calm down. They intentionally send them to you a little bit big, which is good, but it'll fit in just like that. So now we'll go ahead and just cut this and mimic it. So these will both go like so. And so we're going to go ahead and throw a good lathering of the sealer on here. I think for this bottom seal, you know what, actually let me take a minute and just try and make sure I got all the debris cleaned out from inside this oil pan, because all that is not going to be very good for it, for the oil pump, if any of that old seal or RTV got in there. Looks like we got it all pretty good though. So we'll see. We're going to try and do a oil change probably pretty soon after she runs again, just to make sure that any dust or debris that came in while we were sandblasting gets cleared right back out. But anyhow, for this gasket here, instead of using the Aviation Permatex like I was saying, we're going to go ahead and use a different RTV. This one's got a little bit more thickness to it, which will be good in some of the these corners and these tighter areas, just to make sure we get a really good seal. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit on here. Although I think I got to open this back up again. And before I do that too, I'm going to want to go ahead and spray this down with brake clean one last time. You'll notice that I kind of use brake clean and mineral spirits kind of interchangeably when it comes to prepping for paint and gaskets. I don't know if there actually is much of a difference in terms of its cleaning capability. If anyone knows, I would actually be really curious to find out. So I guess I could Google it, but just never got around to it. You want that to be pretty clean, because anything that's on it is just something else that means that in the way of getting it to stick and adhere to that metal. Alright guys, so we finally got this on. Ended up being a little bit of a pain. I had the hardest time getting the gasket lined up because it kept wanting to move as so as I was tightening this up, I had to tighten these bolts up from the bottom first so that we could squish this seal down here before we would be able to put the screws in this way. So the problem is that the gasket would be sitting up here, but then as the whole unit moved downwards, the gasket wanted to stay because of the adhesive that we used. But we did eventually get it. Something else to note was that this bracket is kind of difficult to get all the bolts lined up with the water pump. So you definitely want to keep all the bolts loose, including this one back here, until you can get all of them started. So I can't tighten this one up all the way right now because I still need to install my alternator, which I'm waiting for a new alternator to come in. I'm waiting for the air compressor to still come in. So I'll wait to wrap up this video until those come in. I'm also waiting on the pump, I'm sorry, not the pump, the harmonic balancer to come in for this. And another thing that I noted is that the outlet on this looks bigger, or must be bigger, than the one that was on here originally. So the hose that originally fit on there is nowhere close to fitting, so I'm going to order a new one of those as well. But hopefully we've got this all sorted out. Don't forget, when you're installing this compressor bracket, there's these back here. When you order this from Vintage Air, it comes in with bare steel, so I sandblasted it and went ahead and powder coated it. You at least want to hit it with some sort of rust cover, even if you just do Rust-Oleum or something. Oh, actually, I just realized I forgot to mention that we still have to install this. That's pretty straightforward. It's just the 2 bolts that hold that in there. We're going to put sealant on both sides like so. And then this works with this pump riding on a oblong circle, which is back in here. I meant to point that out earlier, but you'll see back in the video. It's on the top end of the timing chain. So I guess that would be somewhere on the camshaft. So anyhow, all right, I'll catch up with you shortly. All right, guys, so we got our new air compressor in for the AC, and we also got our new alternator in over there. We also have our new crank pulley, which is right over there. We're going to go ahead and work on getting these things installed. I also got a new hose, which goes right here. This hose that I needed, well, there's the part number. I got it from AutoZone. It's going to need to be trimmed up a little bit. You'll see it's a little bit too long. And then before we put the air compressor on, I needed to get this barb fitting in. So with this air compressor, you need to put a 45 on here. However, I had an issue, which was my 45 wouldn't fit because it would hit right here. So I filed this down in here a little bit. I took quite a bit off of there. So hopefully it should have some good bite. It still has about 2 barbs worth to still bite on. So I'm actually going to go ahead and attach my heater hose and just leave it sitting there until we get ready to run that. But we'll push that on there, put a clamp on it. And then I also went ahead and put the sensor for the water pump. I'm sorry, for the water temperature gauge in here. I could have done that after the fact, but it's a little bit easier to do now. But we'll have a whole separate video about wiring that up. So anyhow, we're going to get started installing all these things, and I'll catch up with you afterwards. Alright guys, so after messing around with this a while, I discovered a couple of things. First of all, I'd ordered the wrong alternator, so make sure you get an alternator that has these 2 ears on it. Second thing I realized was that I originally mounted the compressor to the front up here because I thought that lined up these 2 pulleys, but these 2 pulleys a little bit better. But it still didn't look quite right. And then I looked at the picture and I noticed it was mounted behind. So I thought that was strange. So I mounted it behind, but then I realized that these 2 pulleys don't line up with these 2 pulleys. And then I was also racking my brain because this little spacer right here was pushed over to this side. So anyhow, just nothing was lining up. But what I did eventually realize was that the way that this pulley kit is designed, you only use this rear pulley. So this rear pulley on the crank is supposed to line up with this front pulley here and here. And when you look at it, it all looks like it lines up about right. So anyhow, the other thing I realized was that I still had the pulley that went on here from the previous water pump. and that does not fit. It is not, it's not deep enough, so the two pulleys end up about right here, so they won't line up. So anyhow, so we got another pulley on order. Another thing is that the fan, I have a flex fan, which came with the machine, and I know that flex fan isn't the most ideal in this situation because we really want to generate the most air, but it's what we got, and we're going to have a pusher fan, so we'll see if that holds up, and if not, it's easy enough to replace later. But that only clears this by like 1/16 of an inch, which I'm not super comfortable with, so we might have to run a fan spacer there, but we'll have to see. I was able to keep the dipstick in its right where it was before, which was between the alternator. This fuel line originally ran through here as well, but that felt a little too condensed, or there's too much in there. So now I'm going to run the fuel line probably up and down and through this down to here. I'm just going to replace this with a regular barb. So anyhow, once I get that new fan pulley in, I'll go ahead and get that installed. Vintage Air has their own proprietary one, which only has one pulley on it for this specific application. I found one for about half the price off of Amazon, so I'm waiting for that to come in, and we'll see. Once we get that in, then we can go ahead and get our belt measured up, and we'll conclude the video with figuring out what the proper belt size is. So, alright guys, we're going to keep rolling. Alright guys, so we got our new pulley installed, and after moving this air compressor back, and that pulley's a little bit thicker than the old one, we did not have to use a spacer on our fan. You have to pardon my hoses, that's for an upcoming video about the heat and AC, but you can see that there is a sufficient gap between the AC compressor and the flex fan. And you can also see that it ended up running on the front pulley of the alternator and the compressor, but then it runs on the back pulley of the water pump and the crank. Actually, that's not quite... I'm sorry, yes, it runs on the front crank, or front pulley of the crank. So this all is lined up. So the belt that I ended up using, this is the Napa part number, and these are the dimensions in case you wanted to find them somewhere else. But it all fits pretty snugly. And I'll say, though, that this belt is a pain to put on because it's so tight. So with this alternator, it can't go can't go quite all the way down because it hits back here. But if we extend it out hardly at all, it starts to, it runs into the side of the doghouse. So, I mean, I don't know that I don't know if they even make a belt in between, because I tried this one, which was the 55 and 7/8, and then I tried the 57 and 3/8. So maybe if you found something halfway in between those two, but I really like how this one fits. I like that it fits so snugly. I think that that's a safer option. So we're just going to let it go. But I will say that once this doghouse is on, this will be a pain. I think that putting this belt on and off is probably going to require pulling this doghouse off. Otherwise, it's going to be a pain to even just tighten up this bolt from underneath. So that's certainly not ideal, but I don't know. We'll see. Probably in some desperation, you could crawl underneath and get it from up there, but that's not going to be fun, and that's definitely going to be a two-person job. So anyway, we are finally all set on our timing, on all of our pulleys. So that concludes the timing cover being replaced, and that concludes the AC bracket being installed and the compressor being installed, and that's your new belt size. So hope this video is helpful to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next go round.